the day of the week, the nakshatras, stars, the month, the season and the position of the sun. Certain specific religious rites and ceremonies have to be performed. These are known as viratas. The first day of the lunar fortnight is known as Pratipada. The day of Pratipada in the months of Kartika, Ashvina and Chaitra are Brahma's tethys. It is then that the worship of Brahma must be done. On the second day of the lunar fortnight, Dvitiya, one should eat only flowers and pray to the two Ashvinis. This makes the supplicant handsome and lucky. Shukla Paksha is that lunar fortnight in which the moon waxes, and Shukla Paksha Dvitiya in the month of Kartika is earmarked for the worship of Yama. If one performs this virata, one does not have to go to Naraka, hell. This is also the day for praying to Balarama and Krishna. It was on the third day of the lunar fortnight, Tritiya, in Shukla Paksha and in the month of Chaitra, that Shiva married Parvati or Gauri. Rites performed on this day are thus known as Gaura Virata. Shiva and Parvati have to be given offerings of fruit. The 8 names of Parvati have to be recited. These are Lalita, Vijaya, Bhadrabhavani, Kumuda, Shiva, Vasudevi, and Gauri. Chaturthi Viratu is performed on the 4th day of the lunar fortnight, is Shukla Paksha and in the month of Magha. This is the day for worshipping the common gods, Gana Devata. The offerings on this occasion are to be wine and fragrant perfumes. On the 5th day of the lunar fortnight, one performs Panchami Virata. This grants good health and takes care of bad omens. Particularly auspicious for Panchami Virata are the Shukla Pakshas in the months of Shravana, Bhadra, Ashvina, and Kartika. On the 6th day of the lunar fortnight one performs Shashthi Virata. One has to live only on fruit, and if one performs this Virata, the fruits of any action that one performs live forever. Shashthi Virata should be observed especially in the months of Kartika and Bhadra. Surya is to be worshipped on the 7th, Saptami, day of the lunar fortnight. If Saptami Viratu is observed in Shukla Paksha, all sorrow disappears. Sins are atoned for and all one's desires are attained. Women who have no children can have sons if they observe these rites. The 8th day of the lunar fortnight, Ashtami, is very significant. Krishna was born on this tithi in the month of Bhadra when the nakshatra Rohini was in the sky. Ashtami is therefore auspicious in the month of Bhadra. If one fasts on that day and prays to Krishna, the sins of one's earlier 7 lives are atoned for. But this Viratu is to be observed in Krishna Paksha and not in Shukla Paksha, since Krishna was born in Krishna Paksha. Together with Krishna, Rohini and the moon, Devaki, Vasudeva, Yashoda, Nanda and Balarama are also to be worshipped on their occasion. Since Krishna took birth, Janma, on this Ashtami Tithi, this particular day is known as Janmashtami. The 8th day of the lunar fortnight can be important even if it is not the month of Bhadra. For example, the 8th day of the lunar fortnight might be a Wednesday, Budhavara, in both Shukla Paksha and Krishna Paksha. Irrespective of the month, such an Ashtami is important and is known as Budashtami. On that day one has to live only on molasses and rice and perform the Virata. There used to be a Brahmana named Dhira whose wife was named Ramba. Dhira's son was Kaushika. His daughter was Vijaya and Dhira's bull was named Dhanada. Kaushika would go with the other cowherds to graze the bull. Once when Kaushika was having a bath in the river Bhagirati and the bull was grazing, some thieves came and stole the bull. Kaushika and his sister Vijaya looked everywhere for it, but could not find it. In searching for the bull, they came to a lake where some women were bathing in the course of performing a vrata. Brother and sister were tired and hungry and they craved for some food. The women agreed to give them food, but only after Kaushika and Vijaya had also performed the Budashtami Virata. And as soon as Kaushika performed the ritual, the bull was miraculously returned to him. Such were the powers of the Virata that Kaushika could get his sister Vijaya married off to Yama and himself became the king of Ayodhya. After their parents Dhira and Ramba had died, Vijaya discovered that her father and mother were in Naraka. When she asked Yama as to how her parents might be delivered from Naraka, Yama told her that Kaushika and Vijaya should perform Budashtami Virata again. And immediately after they did so, the parents attained Sphaga. The 9th day of the lunar fortnight is Navami, and Navami in Shukla Paksha, especially in the month of Ashvina, is earmarked for the worship of Gauri. An animal has to be sacrificed and offered to the goddess on this occasion. The Brahmanas become all-powerful if they observe Dashami Virata on the 10th day of the lunar fortnight and donate 10 cows. The 11th day of the lunar fortnight, Ekadashi, is for fasting. It is also the Tithi for praying to Vishnu. The observance of Ekadashi Virata grants sons and wealth and atones for one's sins. The 12th day of the lunar fortnight is Dvadashi. Any Dvadashi and Shukla Paksha is auspicious for worshipping Vishnu. Dwadashi in the month of Bhadra is for praying to cows and calves, and in the month of Chaitra it is for praying to the god of love, Madana. If one observes Dvadashi for an entire year, one never has to go to Naraka. An especially good conjunction is Dvadashi and Shukla Paksha in the month of Bhadra when the nakshatra Shravana is in the sky. If one fasts and observes a Virata, then one earns greater punya than from bathing in the confluence of sacred rivers. If Buddha, Mercury, is also in the sky, the punya is multiplied several-fold. Trodashi Viratu is on the 13th day of the lunar fortnight, and this ritual was first performed by the god of love when he wanted to please Shiva. This is the Tithi on which Shiva is worshipped. In the month of Ashvina, Indra is also revered on this Tithi. And in the month of Chaitra, the god of love is worshipped in Shukla Paksha on the same Tithi. The 14th day of the lunar fortnight, Chaturdashi, is also earmarked for Shiva, particularly in the month of Kartika. One fasts and donates to Brahmanas and thereby attains Sphaga. The Chaturdashi in Krishna Paksha that comes between the months of Magha and Falguna is known as Shivaratri. Then one has to fast and stay awake the whole night. Earlier, there used to be an evil hunter named Sundarasana. But because he performed a Virata on Shivaratri, all his sins were forgiven. Narakas, hells. If one worships Vishnu with flowers, one never goes to hell. There are several such hells. Although people do not wish to die, they are bound to die once their predestined time span on earth has been exhausted. One then has to pay for whatever sins one might have committed. The sinners suffer and those who have performed good deeds are naturally rewarded. There are in fact 2 gates that lead into Yama's abode. The good are brought by Yamadutas, Yama's servants, through the western gate and are then taken to Sphaga. Yama's servants bring the evil to him through the southern gate and Yama then dispatches them to the various hells. If one kills a cow, one has to spend 1 lakh years in a Naraka known as Mahavichya. If one kills a Brahmana or steals land, there is a burning Naraka named Amekama that one goes to. There one suffers till the day when the world is destroyed. A killer of women, children or old men stays in Ravanaraka for the span of 14 Manvantaras. An arsonist is sent to Maharurava and burned there for an entire kalpa. A thief goes to Tamasra, where he is continuously pierced with spears by Yama's servants for several kalpas. After that, a thief is taken to Mahatamasra to be bitten by snakes and insects. If you kill your father or mother, you will be sent to the Helasapatravana. You will be continuously sliced into pieces with swords. If you burn someone to death, you will go to Karambavaluka, where you will be placed on burning sands. A person who eats sweets alone goes to Kokola and is fed only worms. A person who does not perform yajnas goes to Kautala and is fed blood. An oppressor is sent to Tailapaka and is crushed like an oilseed there. A liar is sent to the Naraka named Mahapata. There are several other Narakas for those who encourage interclass marriages, those who kill animals, those who cut trees, those who eat too much meat, those who criticize the Vedas, those who bear also witness, and those who criticize their teachers. Giving alms. Giving alms is extremely important as means for achieving punya. Alms always have to be donated when one goes to visit a temple or a place of pilgrimage. The giver must always face the east and the receiver must always face the north when alms are being given. Such donations have to be made after one has had a bath. The best objects for donations are gold, horses, oilseeds, snakes, maids, chariots, trees, houses, daughters and cows. If one promises to give something but later goes back on one's promise, one is sure to be destroyed. It should be remembered that the entire object of donation of alms is lost, if one expects gratitude or friendship in return. It is better to give something to a brother than to a daughter, it is better to give to a father than to a mother. The entire concept of donation of alms is different in the four different eras. In Satya Yuga, the giver went out in search of recipient to whom he could give something. In Treta Yuga, the recipient had to come to the giver's house before he would be given anything. In Dvapara Yuga, the giver never gave anything without being asked for it by the recipient. And in Kali Yuga, the giver gives only to those who are servile to him. Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri Mantra is a very powerful incantation. The human body has many veins. Out of these, 10 veins are important and their names are Ada, Pingala, Sushama, Gandhari, Hastajihva, Pritha, Yasha, Alambashur, Huha, and Shankini. These veins bear the breath of life. The breath of life is called Prana Vayu. Apart from Prana Vayu, 9 other major breaths course through the human body. Their names are Apana, Samana, Udana, Vyana, Naga, Kama, Krikara, Divadatta, and Dhananjaya. Gayatri is a goddess worshipped even by Vishnu and Shiva. This goddess is there everywhere, even in every individual's heart in the form of a swan. Gayatri Mantra is an incantation to the goddess. If one chants the mantra 7 times, one's sins are forgiven. Chanting it 10 times means that one attains Svaga. To attain worlds, lokas, which are even more desirable than Svaga, one has to chant Gayatri Mantra 20 times. If one chants the mantra 108 times. If one chants the mantra 108 times, one does not have to be born again. The severest of sins, like killing cows, brahmanas or parents, are forgiven if one chants the mantra 1,000 times. Gayatri Mantra has always to be preceded by the chanting of the sacred word Om. The king. The king's duties are many. He has to punish his enemies, ensure the prosperity of his subjects and arrange that his kingdom is ruled well. He has to protect the sages who perform tapasya inside the boundaries of his kingdom. A king should appoint a wise brahmana as his priest. His ministers should also be wise, and his queen should be a woman who follows the path of Dharma. When a king dies, time must not be wasted. The priest must immediately find an auspicious occasion so that a new king can be appointed and crowned. A kingdom can never be without a king. Before the coronation, a prospective king has to purify himself by rubbing his body with mud. Mud from a mountain peak is used for the ears, from a Krishna temple for the face, from an Indra temple for the back, from a palace for the chest, mud raised by an elephant's tusks for the right hand, mud raised by a bull's horns for the left hand, mud from a yajna for the things, and from a cowshed for the feet. After the king has thus rubbed himself with different forms of mud and purified himself, he is ready to be anointed. 4 types of ministers will appoint him. Brahmana ministers with golden vessels full of clarified butter will stand of the eastern side. Kshatriya ministers with silver vessels full of sweet and thickened milk will stand on the eastern side. Vaishya ministers with copper vessels full of curds will stand on the western side. And Shudra ministers with earthen vessels full of water will stand on the northern side. The priests will then use material from all 4 directions to anoint the king. Water from all the places of pilgrimage will be poured on the king's head and throat. There must be songs and musical instruments must be played. The king will next pray to Brahma, Vishnu, Indra and the other gods. He will look at a mirror, some clarified butter and the various signs of good omen that have been placed all around. The king will then be crowned and introduced to his ministers, advisors and guards. The priest will be given cows, goats, buffaloes and houses by the king. He will also bow before the brahmanas. After all these ceremonies have been completed, he truly becomes the king. He circles the fire, touches his guru's feet and with all his soldiers, goes out on a procession through the streets so that his subjects can see him. At that time, the king must be seated either on an elephant or a horse. After the procession is over, the king may return to his palace. The king has to appoint many officials. The general has got to be a brahmana or a kshatriya. The charioteer must know about horses and elephants, and treasurer must be familiar with different jewels. There has to be a doctor, a keeper of elephants, a keeper of horses, a captain for the palace and another captain for looking after the women of the royal household. Each person must be appointed to the job which suits his expertise and temperament best. Anyone thus appointed by a king has to stick to certain rules. He must always obey the king's orders and must never do anything that is contrary to the king's commands. In public he must always say pleasant things to the king. If there are any unpleasant utterances to be made, they have to be made in a private audience with the king. Those who serve the king must not be thieves, nor must they ever insult the king. They will not dress like the king, nor will they become too intimate with the king. They must not divulge royal secrets. For a fort, the king should choose a place that cannot readily be attacked by enemies. The king must ensure that the gods are worshipped, the subjects are protected and the evils are punished. He should never steal from the temples, instead he should build temples and set up idols of the gods there. The brahmanas must also be protected, and the king has to make sure that no brahmanas are killed in his kingdom. For a queen, he has to choose a woman who subscribes to these beliefs. The king will appoint an official to look after every 10 villages and another official to look after every 100 villages. Spies must be appointed to find out all that is going on in the kingdom. The king is entitled to 1/6 of all the punya that accrues in his kingdom through his subjects. But he is also credited with 1/6 of all the sins that are committed in his kingdom. The taxes will be levied as per the dictates of the sacred texts. From whatever is received as taxes, half will go into the royal treasury and the remaining half will be distributed amongst the brahmanas. If there is a liar, the king will impose a penalty on him to the extent of 1/8 of the liar's total wealth. If the owner of any property is not known, the king will keep the property in safe custody for a period of 3 years. Once the owner is identified within a period of 3 years, he can claim the property. But beyond 3 years, he becomes entitled to the property. The property rights of any minor orphan are to be protected by the king. If there is a theft in their kingdom, the king must immediately replace what has been stolen with wealth taken from his own royal treasury. If the thief is caught and the stolen goods recovered, they are used to replenish the treasury. 1/20 of profits made from trade are to be paid to the king as taxes. 1/5 or 1/6 of food grains are to be paid as taxes. 1 day every month, craftsmen will work free of charge for the king. They will only be given food from the royal kitchen. The king has to pay proper attention to the princes. They have to be taught 4 types of shastras. The first is Dharma Shastra, which teaches what is right and what is wrong. The second is Artha Shastra, economics. The third is Dhanaveda, the art of fighting. And the last subject that has to be taught to princes is Shilpa, arts and crafts. The king has to assign bodyguards to take care of the princes. He must ensure that the princes associate with honorable and learned people and not with undesirable characters. In instances where the princes do not grow up properly despite the king's best efforts, the king is free to keep them imprisoned. But they should be comfortable in the prison and should not be made to suffer there. The king should give up hunting, drinking and the playing of dice. He must not unnecessarily waste time in traveling around. He must first win over his servants through his behavior and then do the same for his subjects. It is only after this has been achieved that he attains a position to conquer his enemies through the use of arms. Anyone who brings harm to the kingdom must immediately be killed. If the king delays in doing that which has to be done, the purpose of the action is completely lost. Nor must the king inform others in advance about what is going to be done. No one must get to know about the king's intended actions. Once the actions have been completed, the fruits of the actions performed are information enough for everyone to see. This does not mean that the king will not consult his ministers. Of course he will, that is why they are ministers. Before sleeping or eating, the king must check whether the bed or the food is safe. There were 7 techniques that kings were supposed to use in ruling their kingdoms. These were known as Sama, Dana, Danda, Beda, Maya, Upaksha and Indrajala. Of these, the first 4 are the most famous. Sama means the art of gentle persuasion. Dana means the usage of donations or money to achieve one's purpose. Danda is punishment. And Beda is the art of aggravating dissension amongst parties opposed to each other. Maya means to use illusions or deceit, and Upaksha is to deliberately ignore people so as to achieve one's purpose. Indrajala literally means jugglery. In this context, it would mean to perform a balancing act amongst opposing pools and opposing parties. What sort of punishment the king should mete out is also laid down. If anyone lies and says that his possessions have been stolen, he is to be fined an amount equal in value to that of the possessions which have supposedly been stolen. A Brahmana who bears false witness is to be banished from the kingdom. A person who kills cows, elephants, horses or camels will have a leg or a hand cut off. A thief who steals gold or silver or an abductor of women will be executed. Execution is also prescribed in cases of arson and poisoning. A wife who does not obey her husband shall be torn to death by dogs. A woman who does not obey her husband or brahmanas may also have her nose, ears or arms chopped off. She will then be set astride a cow and banished from the kingdom. Dreams. Some dreams are bad omens. In fact, they are nightmares. Examples are dreams about grass or trees growing on one's body, dreams in which the dreamer is shaven-headed or is wearing shabby clothes, or dreams in which one is falling from above. It is also bad to dream of marriages, singing, the killing of snakes and the killing of chandlas or animals. If you dream that you are drinking oil or eating bird meat, that is also a bad omen. Other examples are, where the dreamer dreams that he is playing with monkeys or chandlas, when he dreams that devas, brahmanas, the king or the guru is angry, or when he dreams that his house had collapsed. Remedies have to be found if one dreams such evil dreams. Brahmanas have to be worshipped, a yajna has to be performed, and the dreamer has to pray to Vishnu, Shiva, Brahma, Ganesha or Surya. Dreams dreamt in the first quarter of one's sleep normally come true over the next 1 year. Dreams from the second quarter come true over the next 6 months, and dreams from the third quarter over the next 3 months. Dreams from the last quarter come true over the next fortnight, and dreams dreamt right at dawn come true within the next 10 days. If one first dreams a good dream and then an evil one, it is the evil dream that will come true. Therefore, if one dreams a good dream, one should not sleep anymore. One should immediately arise. There are many dreams that are good dreams. For example, dreams that involve mountains, palaces or snakes. Or the dreamer might dream that he is riding on a horse or a bull. It is also good to dream of white flowers in the sky or to see trees in a dream. Especially good dreams are those of the dreamers possessing many arms or many heads, or of grass and bushes sprouting from his navel. What, if you dream of wearing white garlands or clothes? That too is good. If you dream of eclipses of the sun, the moon or the stars, by all means rejoice. And if in a dream you see that you have caught hold of the enemy's flag, that surely means that you will triumph over the enemy. And if you actually dream of defeating the enemy, the interpretation is clear enough. Strangely enough, a dream where the dreamer sees that he is eating rice pudding is a good dream. As is the case with dreams of drinking wine or blood, or even of eating wet meat. A clear sky in a dream is good. Dreaming of milking a cow or a buffalo with one's own mouth is also good. The dream continues to be a good one if one dreams of milking a lioness or a she-elephant thus. Other dreams which have good interpretations are, for example, dreams of the dreamers receiving blessings from devas or brahmanas, or of being anointed with water. The dreamer who dreams of his coronation is blessed. And he is doubly blessed if he dreams that his head has been cut off, or that he has died, or even that his house has been burnt down. The relatives of such a dreamer increase in number, and he also prospers. It is good to dream of musical instruments being played, or of riding a bull or climbing a tree. Wet clothes, trees laden with fruit, and clear blue skies in dreams are especially good. Omens and signs. If one is about to go out of the house, one should take care of any bad omens that there might be. Such bad omens are cotton, dried grass, cow dung, coal, molasses, leather, hair, a lunatic, a chandler, a widow, a dead body, ashes, bones and a broken vessel. If one comes across these as one is about to leave, one should not start without pacifying the elements through prayers to Vishnu. The sound of musical instruments is not an auspicious sound at the beginning of a journey. If the means of transport by which one is traveling breaks down, that too is a bad omen. If weapons break, perhaps you should postpone the journey. The same is the case if an umbrella held over one's head happens to fall. If one hits one's head against the lintel of the door as one is about to cross the threshold, prayers are again indicated. And never call back someone who has just left. That is a bad omen and bodes ill for the success of the journey. There are good omens for a departure, and if one sees these good omens, the journey is bound to be successful. Good omens are white flowers, full vessels, meat, distant noises, an old goat, a cow, a horse, an elephant, fire, gold, silver, a sword, an umbrella, fruit, clarified butter, curds, a conch shell, sugar cane, the sound of thunder, lightning, and a dead body with no one crying over it. Omens are important even if one is not going on a journey. A peacock crying on the left means that something is going to be stolen. If a donkey brays with a broken voice, that is good omen and something good will happen. If a boar or a buffalo crosses over from the left to the right, that is a good omen. But if they cross over from the right to the left, that is a bad omen. One's desires will be attained if horses, tigers, lions, cats or donkeys cross over from the right to the left. Jackals, moles, lizards, pigs and cuckoos are good omens on the left, and monkeys are good omens on the right. If a jackal calls once, twice, thrice or 4 times, that is a good omen. It is a bad omen if a jackal calls 5 or 6 times. It is a very good omen if a jackal calls 7 times. If crows caw on the left of an army, the soldiers will not be able to win. If a crow can be seen near the door of a house, this means that there will soon be a guest. A crow looking at the sun with one eye signifies great danger. A crow covered with mud means the attainment of one's desires. A dog barking inside the house leads to the death of the householders. A person whose left limbs are sniffed by a dog will attain riches. If the right limbs are sniffed, there will be danger. A dog blocking one's path signifies theft. A dog with a bone or a rope in its mouth means the loss of property. But it is a good omen to see a dog with meat in its mouth. Cows mooing irregularly mean threats to the master of the house. If this happens at night, there will be a theft or a death in the house. If the cows have horns that are wet or daubed with mud, that is a good sign for the householders. A cow that plays with cranes or doves is bound to die. A cow that licks its feet is also destined to die. If an elephant strikes its right foot with its left, that is a good sign. Prosperity comes if an elephant rubs its right tusk with its foot. There is great danger if an umbrella falls just as one is about to leave on a trip. Journeys are to be avoided if the stars are not favorable. Battle. Once a king decides to go out to battle, 7 days are needed for preliminaries. On the first day, Vishnu, Shiva and Ganesha have to be worshipped. On the second day the Dikpalas, guardians of all the directions, are worshipped, the Rudras on the third day, the planets and the stars on the fourth day, and the 2 Ashvinis and the rivers on the 5th day. On the 6th day, the king has ceremonial bath in honor of the victory that is to come. And on the 7th day, the king leaves to do battle. Prior to the marching, the army must always assemble to the east of the capital city. The start of the march must be accompanied with the playing of musical instruments. Once the army has begun to march, it must never look back. After having traveled for a couple of miles, it must stop to rest any prey to the gods and the brahmanas. The king must never directly fight. because if the king is killed, the battle is lost. The king must be right behind his army, not too far away from it. An elephant will be guarded by 4 chariots, a chariot by 4 horses and a horse by 4 infantrymen. The infantry will also be at the front of army, followed by archers and then by the horses. The chariots and the elephants come last of all. The cowards in the army must not be in the front, they must be at the back. The front is for the brave soldiers. To the extent possible, one should fight with the sun behind one's army. If a soldier dies in the course of battle, he goes straight to heaven. The blood of brave men wash away all sins. To be struck with a weapon is better than to perform many sacrifices. A person who flees from the field of battle performs a sin that is worse than that of killing a Brahmana. The fight should be between equals. Those who are running away should not be killed. Nor should spectators and those who are unarmed be killed. An enemy captured in battle should not be kept imprisoned. He should be released and treated like a son. Rama Precepts. Rama had once taught Lakshmana about the duties of a king. The Agni Purana now relates these precepts of Rama's. The duties of king are 4-fold. Firstly, he has to earn wealth. Secondly, he has to increase it. Thirdly, he has to protect it. And fourthly and finally, he has to donate it. The king must also be polite, and politeness comes through the conquering of the senses. The king must be humble. The senses are like mad elephants. If the senses are pampered, like mad elephants, they trample politeness and humility underfoot. The king must also be non-violent, truthful, clean and forgiving. He should take care to observe all the rituals. He should give food to those who are poor. He should protect those who seek royal protection. He should always use words that are pleasant to hear. The body is here today and gone tomorrow. Stupid is the king who deviates from the path of righteousness to give pleasure to a body that is transient. The curses of unhappy people are enough to bring down a king. There is only one difference between gods and animals. Gods use pleasant word, while animals use rough words. The king must use pleasant words like a god. And he must use pleasant words not only for those who are his friends or are good, but also for those who are his enemies or are evil. With obeisance the king pleases his guru, with good behavior the righteous, with duties the gods, with live the servants and with alms those who are inferior. The kingdom has 7 components. These are the king, the ministers, the friends, the treasury, the army, the forts and the state itself. Of these, the most important is the state, and it has to be preserved at all costs. The king must be extremely careful in the choice of the ministers and the royal priest. The king must not choose or consult ministers who are stupid. The king's signs are his golden rod or scepter and an umbrella that is held over his head. The umbrella should be made of the feathers of swans, peacocks or cranes, but the feathers of different types of birds should not be mixed in the same umbrella. The throne should be made of wood and should be embellished with gold. A bow can be made of iron, horn or wood. The best bow is one that extends over 4 arm lengths. The king can spend up to 1 year's tax revenue on armaments and flags.